Now that being said, welcome to Python Foundation course. I hope all of you enjoy this time. Let me start sharing my screen. So here we are. Okay, and let me switch on to my laptop now. Give me a second. Nope, no annotations. Okay, good. Let me first of all disable the annotations, clear all your annotations, and I think we are good. So I see a lot of SAP College. No, SAP Labs. SAP Labs is the organization. I was from NIT Patna, National Institute of Technology, Patna, Computer Science. Okay, good. So let's get started. Before getting into this course, I want all of you to understand very, fundamental concept of a language. So what is a language? Language is nothing but a way of communicating between two or more people. Correct? This is how we understand language. Whatever I'm speaking, you guys are able to understand because I'm speaking in English and you guys understand English. So that's how we are able to communicate with each other. Let's say I'm speaking French and you guys don't understand French. So we won't be able to communicate with each other. We won't be able to understand each other's instructions or whatever we guys are saying. So similarly, our computer systems only understands zeros and one. What does our computer understands? Only 0 and 1 because it's a hardware, right? It only understands. Let me open my, this whiteboard. So let's say this is our computer system, okay? I know this doesn't look like a computer, but this only understands 0 and 1. So how do we make this computer system understand A, B, whatever we have written on our desktop, on our keyboard? How do we make that understand? So we need some bridging. We need a bridge, or we need to bridge this gap, I should say. We need a bridge to, to fulfill this gap so that whatever we are writing on our computer screens or our computer is easily understood by our computers. So that's when programming languages come into picture. Programming languages help us give instructions to computer, which computers can easily understand. Am I making sense? Now, that being said, let's understand. Now, I hope everybody understand what is programming language and why do we need a programming language. Correct. Few people are saying ASCII. Right, exactly. Computer only understands zeros and ones. So we need to, convert whatever is written on your keyboard has a associated ASCII value. Let's say you have A, B, C, a percentage, ampersand, whatever you have. All these characters have a ASCII value associated to it. Now, what is ASCII? ASCII, ASCII value associated to it. So you can go and read about ASCII. Okay. All the ASCII values will have certain values like this. Like for A, it is 97. Now, what we'll do, we'll convert 97 into binary. Let's say this is the binary value of 97. So now if you see this is a combination of zeros and 1. Now my computer will be able to understand you're typing A, B, C, or whatever for that matter. Okay, so that's how our computer understands. And so guys, are you able to see my screen? Yes or no? Are you guys able to see all my screens, right? You were able to see the whiteboard, yes, you were able to see my PPT.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay, perfect. Right. So I hope all of you understand how computer understands, or our ABCDs are represented in computer format. Now, once that is clear, we are talking about some certain set of instructions that we'll have to pass to our computer so that our computers can understand what we want them to perform. Let's say you want your computer to perform A plus B. Okay, how will that take place? Now you need to use a programming language which will convert your set of instructions using a compiler or an interpreter, into the 0-1 language or the machine level language which is understood by the computer. Okay, so that's where your programming languages come in. And now that being said, your programming languages have some syntax. Like English will have a syntax, right? You'll have to start, while you are writing an English sentence, you'll have to start with capital letter. First letter should have a capital character. Then at the end of a sentence, you should have a dot. So what are all these things? These are all syntax. Then if you are saying a complete statement and you want to take a pause, then you write comma. So what is that comma? That is a syntax. And if you write your sentence in that way, the other person will be able to understand that. Similarly, we'll have certain set of syntax which we'll have to follow in a programming language to make sure that our computer understands them properly and give us the results that we are looking for. Clear? Clear to everybody? That is what a programming language is. Till now, we haven't talked about Python. It is a general discussion. This happens with every programming language or any new programming language that might be discovered or might be created, I should say, not discovered, created in future. Okay, so that's the basics. Now, that being said, let's move to the next slide where we'll try and understand how this happens pictorially. So I just said, so if you want to communicate between two people, we'll use Hindi, English, or any other programming, any other language, so that humans can pass on instructions to each other. Not talking about computers. Now A wants to talk to a computer. What will it do? What will it do? We'll need a programming language, and we just discussed why. Because if you want to communicate with a computer, you need a programming language which will bridge the gap. We speak English. Now we want to pass some instructions to the computer. Then we need to pass them in the language which our computer understands. And that's where the use of programming language comes in. And from here on, we dive into Python. Now, let's say, suppose A only knows Hindi. Okay, A person only knows Hindi, and B only knows English. This guy only knows English. So how can you solve this problem? So there are two ways to solve this. Either A learns Hindi, B learns Hindi. This guy also learns Hindi because this guy knows Hindi. Or this guy should learn English because this guy knows English. Only then they'll be able to communicate. By that we mean whenever we want to communicate or whenever we want to have a discussion with somebody, we need neutral platforms. So why a lot of people speak English on this planet? Because we need some neutral platform or a neutral language which can be understood by others. So that is one. Another solution is we'll need a translator. So when I drew this diagram here, ABC. Now you understand this ABC as a human being. Computer understands zeros and one. Okay. Now what we need a bridge. And what is that bridge? That bridge is called a translator. We need a translator, and similarly we use interpreter, which translates Python code into binary code so that your laptop can understand. Now guys, we are diving into Python slowly. Okay, now if you have your Python code which has proper syntax, which follows certain rules, certain steps to write certain instructions, you have written your instructions in Python. Now you will use an interpreter which will convert your code into binary code, which can be easily understood by your laptop or a computer, and it will perform its task. Clear, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. This is a very powerful diagram. Everybody should, learn this by heart, because if you understand this, it'll be really good. I see a lot of people who have already attended my session. They are also here. Good to see that. I hope you guys are enjoying. Okay, so let's say I have written my Python code here. We are not still discussing about the Python code, like what are the syntax. By now, I believe that you have understood we'll have to write something in English, which will be placed here, which will be called Python programming language. I have written a code in Python programming language in this file. Okay, we will get to that. We'll get to that point. We'll get to the syntax of Python. We'll get how Python works and all that. Let's first understand how this communication between the computer and a programming language happens, because this is very important. If you understand this, maybe one of you, maybe Sandeep or Malika or somebody will create their own programming language in future. You never know that. So that's why it's very important to understand this. Okay. So what happens here is, once you have your code, source code means your Python code with proper syntax, proper instructions. Next step is to pass it to Python interpreter. And from where will you get this Python interpreter? You'll have to download this Python interpreter from internet into your system. Once you download it, it will come up with these blocks that are there inside this orange box. So what will happen? You'll have your code. That code will get compiled internally, will get converted into bytecode, and there'll be a virtual machine built in that interpreter, which will convert your code and pass it on to computer, which could be then running on the computer, because now computer understands your code because it has been converted into binary code. Okay, so this is how the execution happens. Now, for those of you who don't understand virtual machine is, I'll help you understand by using two examples. First is, for those of you who are familiar with Java, they know JVM, JDK, GRE, JRE. So what you'll have to do is, people who know Java, they have to download JDK from internet. What is JDK? What is JDK? JDK. What
Java
is JDK?
Virtual Machine.
Java Development Toolkit. Once you download this, you'll get a Java runtime, JRE, Java runtime environment, and JVM, Java Virtual Machine. So similarly in Python also, you'll get this virtual machine inbuilt, where your code will get executed and finally the outputs are given. Okay. Now let me try and explain what exactly is a virtual machine for those of you who don't understand what a virtual machine is. And then we'll get into the
Excuse me, sir.
thing which is talking about the career paths. But before that, let's understand JVM quickly, virtual machines quickly. So let's say this is your computer system, hardware. Okay. On top of it, on top of this hardware, you'll have a operating system. You'll have a operating system. Like mine is Windows. Few of you might have Mac OS. Few of you might have Linux. So you'll have different operating systems. Okay. Once you have these operating systems, you run applications. Like Google Chrome. This is Google Chrome. Maybe this is, the second one is Paint. This third one is Notepad. So these are all applications that are running on top of your operating system. What are operating system? Windows. You can have Windows. You can have Mac. You can have Linux. You can have all different sort of operating systems that are available in the market. Now, in those operating systems, you'll have applications. And when we say virtual machine, we are trying to mimic this entire system, entire capability into another environment which is available as a software to us. Now there'll be another application here which will be called, or which you can call as virtual box or virtualization software. Okay, virtual box. You guys can go back and read about this. Oracle has virtualization software, virtual box. You'll have to download something of this sort. Okay. And once you download this, Okay, that is your software. Inside this, you can use a OS image, operating systems image, which will give you the same experience as a operating system is giving you. Am I making sense? So you can think it as Earth inside Earth. So you have Earth, you have planet Earth, and there's a smaller Earth inside Earth. Okay, and somebody's living over there. So that's the concept of virtual machine. You have your own operating system inside the operating system. Plus, there is another concept of dual booting that is different. So this is not dual booting. Okay, again, this is not dual booting the same hardware. It's like on top of one soft OS, you are creating a virtual machine as a software. Okay, clear? Nested Earth. Okay, somebody saying nested Earth. Okay. Are you guys able to hear me properly? Yes, yeah. Some people are saying they're not able to. Perfect. Okay, goody good. So I hope you understand this. Now, what is next? If this
Yes,
is
sir.
something you understand by heart, next is, I haven't discussed about this, okay, intentionally. So for those of you who are understanding this, good, but we'll talk about this later because I don't want to confuse you. Next, career path. This is the most important thing, and I hope every one of you is really interested to hear more on this, because this is the most important thing, right? Okay, sir, I'm learning Python. Like, what happens if I learn Python? What is the next step? What will I get if I learn Python? So that's what we have somewhere in back of our minds. Maybe right now you're not thinking about that. You are too much into the session, but somewhere in the mind, subconsciously, we have this thought, okay, I learned Python, or I learned Java also, or I learned coding, I love data, I learned data structures, I learned everything. But what happens after that? This is what happens after that. You'll get a career out of it. So now let's talk about the different career that you can get into once you learn Python. Okay, so there is a hidden layer
Excuse
here
me, sir.
which I talk about in all the sessions that I take, and that is data structures and algorithm. You remember I was talking about ACM ICPC? So ACM ICPC is a contest which has questions around data structures and algorithm. It tests our analytical skills, how analytically strong we are. It's a coding Olympiad, ACM ICPC. For those of you who don't know, go and check it out. Let me message in the chat. It is very important. ACM ICPC. For those of you who are interested, really interested in coding, they should target to, represent your colleges in this contest. It will really help you in future. People don't understand it, but trust me, take my words as it is, it helps. It really helps. Okay, is somebody having a doubt, guys? Python compiler works like what language? Sir, Python compiler works with what language? Oh, so don't get confused right now. What happened? I'll talk about that. Okay, just follow me. Okay, guys, is somebody having a doubt?
Yeah, someone responded and someone again left, sir. This one.
Pranay, really sorry, I don't understand what you're pointing to. Thank you. I'll continue. Okay. Otherwise, I'll lose track. So where was I? I was talking about. Definitely, some people are saying, sir, it would be great if you can talk about competitive programming in the end. Definitely, in case I forget, remind me in last 5 minutes, I'll talk about competitive programming. To be honest, guys, this is, more kind of an introductory session. From next session itself, we'll get into the actual Python related syntax. In this session, I want to give you a background. I want to prepare you mentally and make you aware of what you guys have opted for and where you guys will be going after learning Python. So I'll definitely take these kind of questions at the end. Now let me quickly try to cover this. Okay, so this is career path. there's a hidden layer data structures algorithm. And why do I say that? Because if you know data structures algorithm, it becomes really easy for you to get into any company. FANG, F, FANG, so everybody might have heard. FANG, everybody keeps talking about FANG. What is FANG? Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Netflix. I don't know why they include Netflix in that. They don't have Microsoft there. They have Netflix there. Sorry, yeah, Microsoft should be there in FANG, but whatever. So all these good companies look for people who are good at data structures. Because why do I say that? Because that's their initial test. If you clear that, you come to a next step. You get to specialize yourself in one of these areas, and all these areas, in all these areas you'll require Python. So that's why I say this is career path, and there's a hidden layer before here. Plus, let's say a lot of you will be, sir, I don't want to work for organizations. Either I'll start something of my own, or I'll do freelancing, because a lot of people are getting into freelancing nowadays as well. Good, you get into freelancing, then you don't have to worry about data structures algorithm. You should be damn good in one of these areas, or there are one or two more, like security, ethical hacking, and all those are also good areas to pursue. But I don't promote that, to be honest, because that's something which people do out of curiosity. And if you're good at one of these areas, then as a passion you can also pursue security, because that comes along with these. So that's why I don't specifically mention it here. Now, talking about these areas, what all areas you can get into with Python. First is web development. What do I mean by web development? You can develop websites like Facebook, Twitter. All these kind of websites can be developed using Python, and frameworks that are used in those are Django, Flask. These can be used for backend. Flask is specifically for backend. Using Django, you can create front end as well. Okay, so this is for web development, for people who are interested into web development, people who are interested in getting into Amazon. Amazon has a lot of openings for people who are good at backend technologies. Over there they look for Java as well, though. So that's their area, web development. Another area is testing. So a lot of people, unfortunately and fortunately as well, get into testing. Why do I say fortunately? Because few people are like, I want to do testing and I want to enjoy my life. Few people are, I didn't want it testing and still I got testing. So that's why fortunately and unfortunately few people get into testing. But even if you get into testing, you don't have to worry. What you can do is you can start doing automation in testing. And if you start to do automation in testing, you are same as other developers, because now you are writing code. You're writing automated scripts in Selenium. And that's how okay, I'll take that question. Okay, what is framework? I'll talk about that. So that's how you can ace at testing as well. So using Selenium is a language. You can consider it as a language. Okay, people call it as a tool as well. Using Selenium, you can write your own code and to test your websites or test softwares. So I'll tell you what happens. Okay, let's say you created a website. Let's say this is a website that you created, Classrooms, or this one you created. Now you want to check if this button is working, if this button is working. So what you'll do, you'll write code in Selenium. Using that code, it will automatically log in. It will click on all these buttons. It will check what is the output, and it will return back you the results. So that's what we do with Selenium. Now, before moving into Pygames, few people are asking, sir, what is a framework? Framework, as the name suggests, framework, it gives you a template using which your web development or any kind of development becomes little easy. Okay, let's say when I say you want to build a website, but you want to build a website and you want to create REST APIs. So there are a lot of steps you'll have to deal at network level. You'll have to do a lot of things to create a REST API. This is what people usually think. But if you use a framework, lot of coding part has already been taken by the framework, and they'll give you certain functions which you can utilize and complete your task. So that's why those are called frameworks. And few of the frameworks that we mostly use are Flask and Django or web development with Python. Is it making sense? Frameworks? Okay, perfect. Now let's talk about game development. There are a lot of other ways to develop games as well, but with Python, if you want to develop games, there is a library called PyGames, using which you can create your own games. And you can get into more details of how to develop games and all that if you're interested in getting in that area. That is also a lucrative area, okay? And then comes my favorite, AI, data science, big data, and smart devices. Trust me, guys, this has the highest number of jobs in the market right now. Sorry, highest number of jobs in the market right now, because it's just getting started. And there are very few people who have actual knowledge of these areas. So you will find a lot of courses go around, and people get enrolled in that, and they learn the subject. They try to learn the subject, and then they try to find out jobs. I'm not talking about those people. Those kind of people are everywhere in every field, but talking about legit people who are actually working in AI, ML, big data, and smart devices, that kind of people are still very less. And if you genuinely work in this area, what I mean genuinely work in this area is create amazing projects, do some innovative stuff, because I assume all of you are still in first year and you have lots and lots of time to do something good out of it. And the best thing is, in first year itself, you're getting to know that these things exist. Trust me, guys, I was in NIT, and even then in my first year, I was not aware of all these paths that were available for me, all these DSA thing that I was talking about. That DSA is important to get into the organization. I was not aware about that. Somewhere in second year, third year, I got to know all these things. And though I was a very active student, I used to be in touch with seniors. I used to, uh, keep doing the things here and there, even then. But a lot of people will already know this. That's different because of their friends and family. But I'm talking about the mass. So it's good that you know this. You have time, do something good, pick one area, and start contributing to that area. That's how you will stand out of the mass. Otherwise, there are 32 engineering colleges in India, and we are just one of those. We are just one of the students in those 3200 engineering colleges. If we want to stand out, we'll have to do something different. And you guys have already taken that first step in enrolling this course, maybe. Okay. So now, that being said, big data is data analytics. Nowadays companies are generating lots and lots of data. So they want to find out the trends. They want to find out how humans are interacting with their platforms. So that's where big data analytics and big data handling comes into. Now next is artificial intelligence and data science. So using data science and artificial intelligence, basically the whole crux of AI is to learn from this data that has been collected, that has been analyzed, that has been structured, to learn certain patterns, and based on those patterns that have been learned, predict the future, or predict the task, or predict the values which will be consumed in future, or give predictions of on the data which is unseen to the system. Let's take an example of image classification. So in image classification, let's say you trained a model. Now once you've trained the model, deployed the model into production means it's being used by the organization at a global level. Then the next step comes is you will get unseen images, and your model, machine learning model, because it has learned from the images, it should be able to predict what exactly that image is. So that's what the use of AI ML is. This is the crux of AI ML. Okay, it's learning. And one more important thing, AI and machine learning are two different things. AI is artificially intelligent machine. Machine learning is your machine is learning from the data, learning certain patterns out of the data. So AI and machine learning are not the same thing. They are very different. So don't get confused. Next is smart devices, IoT devices. People keep seeing it here and there nowadays. You have smart fans, you have smart LEDs which you can operate from your phone. directly from your mobile phone. So those kind of developments, those kind of things come under smart devices. This area has also a lot of scope. People who are into EC, I'm not stereotyping, but people who are in EC or EE, they have a lot of scope in this in future. So be prepared. Okay, next, talking about the syllabus. Let's quickly try to cover the syllabus, and then I'll take the questions that you guys have. Okay, so this is our syllabus for Python programming. Whatever we have just discussed, let me quickly recap that. First, we try to understand what is a programming language and how it actually works. Then we try to relate programming languages with the communication that we usually have with human beings and how to communicate with a laptop. Then we try to understand how to bridge a gap between the code that we have written or the set of instructions that we have written and the computer. So that was interpreter. And again, Python is interpreted programming language, and a lot of people say it is compiled programming language as well. People keep having that debate, and if you see over here, I have a compiler inside my interpreter. So on a high level, it is an interpreted programming language, but internally it uses compiler as well. So whenever somebody asks you, you can tell them there's not a straight answer for this, and you can draw this diagram for them, and they'll clearly understand this. Because even in interviews, I ask this question a lot of times, because I know the answer. It's a trick question. If a person says, sir, it is interpreter, I'll say, why it is an interpreter? You won't compile your code. If you don't compile your code, how will your code run? Then if he says in compiler based, I'll ask him, I'll directly run Python on a terminal. Then what will happen? So that's how people usually get confused. So you should know this diagram by heart and explain that it is, you can't say it is exactly interpreter or exactly compiler based programming language. Okay, now talking about the syllabus quickly. Oh, in case you guys were speaking, I was not able to hear because I guess I was on zero voice sound. Okay, anyways, please guys don't unmute yourself. It gets really difficult for me. Whatever questions you have, you can keep posting in the chat. In last 5 to 10 minutes, I'll take them up. Let's just quickly discuss the syllabus so that you guys can set your expectations what all will be covered in this course. So first is introduction and setup. We'll try to understand what needs to be installed in our computer, in our laptop, desktop, so that we can get started with Python programming, so that we can get started with writing our own code and running on our computers. So that's what we'll be discussing here. And we'll also be discussing the applications of Python. We'll also discuss few characteristics, so that in case somebody wants to write those things exactly same in their exams, they can. And the most important thing will be setup. A lot of you might know already about the setup, but that's still okay. Maybe you'll learn something new. Then we have basic syntax. This is the place, we'll get started with the understanding how Python works. What are the basic syntax of Python? Like in English, we have dot, comma, all those kind of stuff. So that's what we learn here in basic syntax. Then from there on, we'll move to variables. What is a variable? As a name suggests, it keeps varying. It is a store where you'll store your data, which will be used during your program execution. Then you'll have data type. I just talked about data. Data will be stored in variable, and the data that you have stored in this variable could be of different data types. It could be string, it could be integer, it could be float, it could be list, it could be dictionary, it could be byte array, it could be byte, it could be set. There are different data types. We'll discuss about all of them, and we will see a lot of functions around them. This one will be a very useful one. Then we'll talk about operators. What are the different operators that are available in Python, like equal to, greater than, left shift, right shift, membership operators. Those kind of operators we'll talk about. And now why we use an operator? You have the data, you'll apply these operators on top of the data, and you'll get an output. So basically it will help you perform the tasks. And then there is decision making. Let's say you have to make a decision using your computer program. And let's try to relate it with a real life example. Let's say your parents say if you score more than 90%, you'll get a chocolate. If you score more than 80%, you'll get a toffee. If you score less than 80%, you'll get nothing. So okay, yeah, I was waiting for this. That's why I stopped. I know somebody will write this in last session as well. Somebody wrote this. Somebody saying slap if you get more less than 80. Fine. So yeah, so if you get less than 80, you won't get anything. So those kind of decision making capabilities, if you want to encode in your program, then you'll have to understand decision making. Okay. Then you have loops. Using loops, you can do the same task over and over again. Here, I'll take an example of a newspaper delivery boy. Let's say newspaper delivery boy, what will he do is he'll come to your locality. He'll deliver a newspaper to first house. Then he'll do the same thing for the third house, fourth house, fifth house, sixth house. He's doing the same task over and over again, right? For all the other houses. So if you want to implement that kind of a capability in your code, then you'll have to use the capability of loops. Then you have functions. Functions is nothing but it's a way of organizing your code structurally so that you can use your code multiple times as and when required. Okay, but don't worry in case you're not understanding these things right now. It's just an overview. Once we start in our next session with introduction and setup, you'll one by one get to know everything. Next is modules and libraries. If you remember this, modules and libraries. So what happens is lot of pre-written code will be given to you. So if you want to print something on a console, if you want to print something on your computer with help of Python, so those kind of functions will already be written inside modules and libraries. You just have to reuse them. Once you download the Python in this setup, we'll see a lot of libraries will come pre-built, pre-written code will come once we download Python. And using that code, you can perform certain tasks by default. Okay. Is this making sense now? And if you want to write your own code, your own instructions, so those two anyways we'll write. Then we have file input and output. We'll see how to play with text files, PDF files, or other kind of files with help of Python. Then is exception handling. Let's say there is some exception in your code. Your code is not performing the way it should perform. Then we'll use this exception handling techniques to make sure that our code doesn't get stopped in between. It doesn't get stuck in between. In case some exceptions occur, we should be able to handle them. Our code should be able to handle them automatically. So those kind of things we'll see in exception handling. Then we have classes and object. I don't know if we'll be able to reach that stage, but if we are able to, I'll definitely discuss about classes and object. For now, you can think classes and object as a way of writing code so that your code is really structured. Oh, guys, please go on mute. Okay, thank you. Then I'll also give you a glimpse of DSA, data structure and algorithm, and machine learning to some extent, so that whatever you have learned here in Python, you can get started with utilizing it somewhere. So that's about our structure for this course. This is how this course will be aligned. Now, coming back to the question, in next, how many 15 minutes we have? In next 15 minutes, we'll take questions. So guys, in case you have already posted some questions, please post them again, because otherwise I might miss it. And please only post the questions so that I can cover them quickly. Anyways, I'm going on the top and start seeing it from the top itself so that I don't miss out on any question. Okay, I see some requests. Give me a second. Okay, sir, what is the frequency of classes, sir? So to be honest, frequency is something which coordinators will be able to help you, but weekly, once or twice, we'll definitely be having these classes. So some people are saying, sir, can't we run Python program directly on the terminal? Definitely, you can directly run Python program on the terminal. So for those of you who don't understand terminal, let me explain terminal. Okay, press Windows R, you'll get run, and then type CMD. This is Windows, okay? And then you'll get this kind of a screen. It is called terminal. So somebody is saying, sir, can't we run Python directly from the terminal? Definitely you can, but for that you'll need to install Python on your system. And because we can run directly from the terminal, that's why Python is called interpreted. Okay, so I already have Python on my system. I typed Python on my CMD. Oh, there it is. Come back. Yeah, and now what if I write print? Hello, guys. Oh, sorry, my bad. Syntax error. Hello, people. So it gets printed. Definitely, you can run it using terminal as well. Sir, is Python platform independent of like Java? Correct. Yes. Python is also platform independent. Somebody is asking, sir, is Python platform independent? Yes, Python is also platform independent. And but in Python, you have two versions, 3 and 2. So you'll have to make sure that your environment is having the right version. That's the only challenge with Python. Otherwise, yes, it's independent of the platform. Okay, can I hand over this program in mobile, sir? Can I hand over this? Okay, somebody is asking, sir, can I hand over this program in mobile, sir? So maybe he's trying to understand, can I continue this program, this session in mobile? So in mobile, it will be little tricky, though you have applications where you can get this terminals and try out things, but you won't get that. You won't get all the capabilities that you will get on your desktop or a laptop. Plus, I have a pro tip in case you don't have a desktop or a laptop. Then what you'll do? Go to your mobiles, go to CodeChef IED. IED is what? Integrated Development Environment. And here you'll have Python. You can practice it here. This is a workaround. And for those of you who don't have, who are not comfortable with mobile also, you can go with pen and paper. That also works, not a problem. That's not a big deal. Anyways, when you get pen and paper, you can do that. Which is better, Python? Oh, which is best, 2 or 3? I guess somebody changed their name to my name, so it looks like Vyom Agarwal to everyone. So it says which is best, Python 2 or 3? Guys, you'll have to use Python 3. Why you'll have to use Python 3? Because Python 2 is already deprecated. So they don't support Python 2 anymore. By support, I mean the community, the Python Foundation don't come up with any fixes or any patches for Python 2. So I would highly recommend go with Python 3. Python full form, to be honest, I'm not sure. I think Python is Python. There's no full form for Python. What is the time period of this workshop? Again, guys, this is a little tricky. If you ask me, my wish will be to cover this entire syllabus that I have covered. But if it is having 6 to 7 sessions, so I guess I'll be able to cover till exception handling. In 8 to 9 sessions, it will take 9 sessions to at least cover till exception handling. Plus, because it also depends on the batch size, right? It's a huge batch, and a lot of people might not be able to understand all the concepts in one go, right? So it'll take somewhere around 9 batches. What are the applications to download Python learning? So I'll talk about that in the setup in the next session. Till then, enjoy. Can you repeat, sir, how do start Python on phone? So if you want to start Python on phone, go to CodeChef. Okay, go to CodeChef. Okay, and then open CodeChef IED. CodeChef IED. Don't worry, guys. I'll talk about this in next session. Don't get worried right now. CodeChef IED. Okay, you go there. Guys, don't go. Please go on mute. It helps me. Yes. Competitive programming. I know people are asking, sir, competitive programming. Please talk about competitive programming. Definitely, I'll talk about it. that's something I'm also really interested to talk about, but I'll talk about that in last 5 minutes because I have something to announce as well. Python named after the television series. Okay. Could you tell us a little bit more about big data? Like everyone knows about the term big data, and frankly, no one really knows how to use it. Okay. So somebody is asking what is big data? Can you talk a little more about big data? Okay. Yes. Okay. So yes, big data. Okay, guys, please. Okay, please ask questions slowly. Otherwise, I'll miss out on few. So, what is big data? Big data, as the name suggests, we have a lot of data. Take an example of Facebook. Facebook knows a lot of details about us. They even know what are we liking, what are we commenting on, what are we just scrolling and not reviewing, how many times do we log in, what is our screen time. All this information is there with Facebook. So, and this is about every person. And I don't remember the exact number, but I guess Facebook has more than 1.5 billion people on its platform, which is huge. And if you think of this big data, then you need some technologies which will help you structure this data so that you can grab meaningful information out of this data. Plus, if you want to use this for machine learning, you want to streamline this data. What I mean by streamline is, let's say, now that will get a little tricky, okay, but let me try it. Okay, so now for few people you won't have a much information available because they don't use Facebook frequently. So what you'll have to do when you are using the data of those kind of persons with the data which has a lot of information about that particular person, then what you'll have to do, you'll have to do imputation. You'll have to compute the missing values and add those missing values. So those kind of data processing, creating ETL pipelines. ETL, okay, I'm giving this keyword to you. You guys can go back and do your own research. ETL pipeline. ETL pipeline. This all comes under big data. Hadoop, Hive, okay, Hive, Hadoop, all these HDFS, all these are part of big data because these are helping you process that huge amount of data. Because now you cannot process that data in relational database. Okay, fine. Hey guys, who is that? I see somebody has taken my name. Guys, please don't do that. Somebody is trying to impersonate me in this session as well, and they are posting Play Store links. That is something unethical, guys. Please don't do that. That is really sad to see. I don't know who is doing that. So whosoever was doing that, I removed him. Please, please don't do these kind of things. Yeah, I'm sorry to do that, but yeah, that's not good. Whosoever was doing that. Okay, so could you repeat the difference between AI and ML? Definitely, I'll do that. So basically, AI is artificial intelligence. Okay, artificial intelligence means you try to give intelligence to hardware, okay, or dead matter, any dead matter like plastic. Okay, to a plastic box you want to give some intelligence. So that is artificially you are making intelligence, you're pushing intelligence into that artificially. Now artificial intelligence means your system should be able to perceive, learn and respond. Perceive, using sensors your machine will perceive. Use learning, for learning we'll use machine learning, and for responding we'll use robotics techniques. You'll have to spin some motors based on the input, or the based on the outputs that you are getting, based on the sensor inputs you are getting. So these three things are there. Perseverance, you'll have to perceive something, you'll have to learn, and you'll have to react. So now when you are learning, that's the place where you use machine learning. So machine learning becomes a subset of artificial intelligence. Okay, I hope this helps. What type of opportunities we'll have in healthcare field? Okay, so to be honest, I'll be really honest. Okay, I don't want to give you something wrong or set some wrong hopes. In healthcare, in banking, or in any other domain, you have lots and lots of job available. It's all about your skills, your software development skills, your coding skills. If you have skills, you'll get a job. Once you get into that particular company, you'll start to learn a lot of things. And it's not like once you get into a particular industry, you won't be able to migrate to other industry. You can. It's just that you should have skills to do good with coding. How to access the video content of lessons in Python of this course. So good. Somebody is asking, sir, how can we access the recording basically? Or how will we get the recording of these courses? So yes, you'll get the recording. It will be available on our channel. I'll keep posting it on YouTube, or I'll share it with you. Don't worry about that. Or do one thing, okay? Classroom study. Do this. Classroom study. So here we have Abhilash sir. And you've already seen me. So here you'll get all the information. Do one thing, go here and just subscribe. You'll get all the notifications and information. Now coming back to the most important question and my favorite too, how to prepare for competitive programming. Or what was the question? What was it? Competitive programming question? Let me go up. So whosoever was asking that competitive programming question, can you just quickly retype it so that I don't have to scroll? Somebody was asking a competitive programming question, right? So before that question gets retyped, let me give you some background. What is competitive programming? Basically, competitive programming is data structure and algorithm. So we talked about data types, right? Type of data. So that is data structures. And we talk about, giving some set of instructions to solve a problem. That is algorithm. This is important because now all the companies have created this as a standard process of asking data structure and algorithm questions for you to qualify in their next rounds. Okay, so that's why data structure algorithm is becoming really important. Yes, and which really helps during placements. Yes, ACM ICPC is one of the finest international collegiate programming contest, and it is really prestigious. Almost all the organization know that if you have represented in ACM ICPC, you have done something really good. Only then you were able to qualify for ACM ICPC. So it's an international collegiate programming contest, and here you'll get coding questions which you'll have to solve, and you can use any programming language to solve those kind of questions, and those questions will be based on data structures and algorithm. And now talking about how these are useful in placement, because companies ask these kind of questions in placement in their first rounds. So if you are able to clarify, if you're able to clear these questions, you will definitely get a good job. Okay, so that's why it is important. And not talking about CP. So first of all, before getting into how you can do this, at Classroom Study, we have designed a 2-year program. 2-year program, guys. Again, 2-year program. We have a 2-year program where we teach students data structures and algorithm from scratch. We pick one programming language. We first of all teach them a programming language. Then we start teaching them data structures, algorithm, and then we work with them day in and out and give contests along with them, code forces, code chef contests we'll give along with them, and make sure that they get a good and a respectable rank in ACM ICPC and perform really good on international level as well. So if you see the sole mission, of this, you should be at respectable rank on the list of CP rankers on this planet. So this is the mission of this program, Partha program. And if you have brought this up, let me share this with you. This is a scholarship test form which I'm sharing with all of you. Whosoever is interested, and even if you're not interested, just go and give the scholarship test. The link is in the chat. Please pick it up, from here. Otherwise, because if I close this meeting, maybe next 5 to 10 minutes, then this link will go off. I guess you won't be able to access it. So please copy this link. You just give the scholarship test. In case you get a good score, somebody from the team will reach out to you and discuss more details about the course if you are interested. But this is a 2-year program which can help you really do good at data science and algorithm. Okay. And ACM ICPC, as I said, it's an international Olympiad. Like you have maths Olympiad, right? NTSC Olympiad, KYPV, what was that? Kishore Vigyan, KY, I don't remember that. KYPY, what was that? KYPY, no, I'm forgetting that name. That was a math Olympiad. KVPY, right? Yes, KVPY, perfect. Yes, KVPY. Yes, so you know, right, these kind of Olympiads. So similarly for coders, for people from computer science background, you have ACM's ICPC. So ACM is nothing but its organization name, ACM. ACM is organization name and ICPC is the contest that they organize. ACM is an organization, Association of Computing Machinery. It's an organization, and ICPC is the contest, International Collegiate ICPC. ICPC is the contest. So we'll prepare you with all those things. You don't have to worry in case you get enrolled, and definitely try that scholarship out, because we have great scholarship. Maybe if you get that great scholarship, so you will have to pay in pennies and be a part of this 2-year program. And the reason, you know, why we started with 2 years is because we realized a lot of people just get started, but they get stuck after 2 months, 3 months. They are like, sir, ab aur nahi man karta. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm done. DSA is little hard. I don't want to continue from now. I'll do something else. I'll do machine learning. I'll do something else. Everything is important. As I said, going back to this career path, all these things are important, but there's a hidden layer called data sets and algorithm, which you'll have to take up, which you'll have to do. Why I'm forcing this? Because this will make you stand out of that 15 lakh students that are competing with you. Not exactly 15 lakh, because everyone will not be in computer science, but people who want to get into those lucrative jobs where people get 30, 40, 50 LPA per year. Okay, and this is base salary. I'm not talking about stock options. Okay, so for those jobs, you'll have to do really good with data structures, and then it'll be a cakewalk. So that's what we are targeting. And so I'll rest here. That's what it is from my end. If you have any specific questions, I can take them up in next sessions. So till then, have fun. Send the link once again. Okay, let me share it once again. I don't know if I'm part of that WhatsApp group where you guys are. I'm sharing it again. Okay, I don't know if it has been sent to everybody. Attendance and all, to be honest, I'm not responsible for this. Maybe coordinators will be able to help you. Sir, what about the quiz? Okay, so this scholarship test is different. Okay, this scholarship test is completely different. Whatever quizzes and all you have, those will continue. Those are part of the course that you are having right now. Okay, what I'm telling you, the scholarship test, this is for other program. This is for 2-year program, 2-year coding program. That is huge. 2 year. 2 years, a long time. You'll do really great if you are with us, because we have done this and we have been there. We have gone through this process, so we know how things work. Okay, that's it from my side, guys. Have a great day ahead. Stay safe and enjoy life. Bye bye.